Good morning. Good morning. It's David Goldstein from Mecca Graphics. We're going to get started with our introduction to market analysis this morning. I hope everyone is doing okay. I will do this half-hour webinar to introduce you to how to do a market analysis. I will walk you through some charts that you would typically use in a market analysis, and we'll really split that in two parts. In the first part, we'll look at market maps, Marimekko chart, using Marimekko charts to do market maps. We'll start from simple market maps and move into more complex ones. And in the second half, I will show you some other charts that would allow you to look at other aspects of a market analysis, looking, for example, at market growth, market profitability. And then at the end, I will answer any questions. I will, if you want me to show you how to make any of these charts, I will be available to do that at the end. But for most of the webinar, I will just walk you through charts, show you them, talk about why I made them the way that I made them, and rather than show you how to make charts. So just as an introduction, all of the charts that I am going to show you are either in the Mecca Graphics chart gallery, which is on our website, or in the Mecca Graphics chart of the week, which is also on our website. It's our blog. So that's where they came from. I will make this presentation available to you at the end of the later on today, and we are recording this webinar, and we will put the recording up on the internet probably later today or tomorrow. So that's just a way of getting started. I hope you like seeing me in the webinar. We're experimenting with that, and I think it's helpful to put a face and a picture next to the webinar presentation. So we'll get you going with a very simple market map. So the Marimekko chart is often why people buy our Mecca Graphics software. It's probably the chart that we are known for. It's the chart that's part of our name, and the Marimekko chart is a great way to map a market. And what I mean by mapping a market is breaking a market down by market segment and by competitor. And in the Marimekko chart, the market segments are the bars, and the widths of the bars correspond to the size of the market segment. And the individual segments in the Marimekko chart are the competitors in that market segment. So you can see in this very simple U.S. electric vehicle market Marimekko chart that conventional hybrids are by far the largest segment. They make up 455,000 out of 550,000 vehicles sold in the U.S. in 2013, so maybe 80% of the market. And Toyota, not surprisingly, if you're from the U.S., and its Prius brand is the main competitor and controls about 70+% of that market. So the Marimekko shows you the market size, the segment size, and the competitors within that segment. You can also see quickly that there are only 3 big competitors in the conventional hybrid segment, so the segment is relatively consolidated. They control 90+% of the market, and the competitors in the conventional hybrid segment are very different than the competitors in the plug-in hybrids and the 100% electric segment. Toyota is in both, but it's a much smaller player in plug-in hybrids, and it is not in 100% electric vehicles at all. Tesla is only in 100% electric vehicles. Nissan is the leader in that 100%. Ford plays in both of those two segments. GM is only in plug-in hybrids. So it's a relatively consolidated, relatively new market with not very many players. The other thing to notice about the Marimekko chart is that we add the other series to the chart, so the other series always appears at the top, and typically in a Marimekko chart, we sort the bars, so the biggest bar is on the left, and we sort the series, so the biggest series is on the bottom. So you read the chart from left to right and from top to bottom. And in Mecca Graphics, you can specify the other series so that the other series always appears on the top. I like to make the other series a neutral color to separate it out from the other series in the chart. So that's a quick intro to a pretty simple market map. I'm going to give you one other simple market map to get you going, and this is really just to show you that another way of looking at dividing up a market is by geography. So we're looking at the package delivery market, and you can see that that market varies greatly from region to region. And you can see in a bunch of different industries that you'll see market variation from region to region. And package delivery would be one, telecom would be another, airlines is probably a third market that you would see. You would look at regional versus market segment differences. And you can see here that DHL is the big player in Asia Pacific and Europe, but a relatively small player in the Americas. FedEx is the big player in the Americas. I tried to be somewhat clever and use the colors of something close to the colors of the corporate colors of each of the competitors in the market segments. And I also added a percentage here, which is a relatively new feature of Mecca Graphics, but you can actually see the percentage. You can include a percentage here, so you can see that DHL, with its $3 billion in revenue in Asia Pacific, it makes up 44% of the Asia Pacific market. FedEx, the leader, is 46% of the US market, and DHL is also 41% of the European market. So this is a percentage of the bar by default. In Mecca Graphics, you can also change this to make it a percentage of the entire chart if you prefer that. The other thing is we do have another segment. We did sort bars from left to right, biggest to smallest, and top to bottom. Biggest bottom to top, biggest to smallest, and included the other series at the top of the bar for the smaller competitors. So again, a relatively simple simple market map for an industry that's relatively mature, consolidated, with very few players. And again, you can see that the big players make up almost 80% of the market in Asia Pacific, and then over 90% of the market in the US, and about 90% of the market in Europe is among those top four competitors. And you can also see that unlike the electric vehicles, the market in these three regions is relatively the same size, 6.8 billion in Asia Pacific, just down to 6 billion in Europe. So two charts, two market maps, relatively simple, give you a pretty good sense of the market and how it's divided. If you have questions about the market map or about how you make the market map, just put them in the chat section of the GoToMeeting, and either one of my colleagues will address them during the session, or I will address them at the end of the session. I'm going to move on to a more complicated, probably closer to a real-world market map, the one I'm The one I'm looking at here is for the medical device market. There's good data. I found some good data on the medical device market from the Evaluate Group, which is a market research firm. And I wrote this up relatively recently in one of the Charts of the Week blog. So it's relatively good data, recent data. And here you can see, unlike these other markets, a very fragmented market, a lot larger other series, especially in this other bar. So even the first 5 market segments only make up, looks to be about 50–60% of the market, and the rest of it is in other, and the other is dominated by a lot of smaller competitors. So the biggest competitor, J&J, looks to control only about 10% or under 10% of this other these other markets. So what I did in this market map was I tried to show you that each market has a very different set of competitors, and I did that using color. So all of the competitors that are in just one market are in this dark gray. So Roche is only in vitro diagnostics, St. Jude is only in cardiology, and then I used colors to show competitors that were in more than one market. So Siemens here in the light green is in vitro and diagnostic imaging. Abbott is in vitro cardiology and ophthalmics. So you can see that there are just very few. Siemens, Abbott, J&J, Medtronic are the only competitors that are in multiple segments of the medical device market. The rest of the competitors are just in a single segment. So a very fragmented market where you've got different competitors in different segments, maybe some opportunities for consolidation, maybe some opportunities for one competitor to buy out another, to go across markets. Maybe the structure is such that each of these market segments is so different that there really aren't a lot of economies in being in more than one market segment. You can't really tell that from the market map, but you can tell from the market map that it is a very fragmented market. You can also tell that some of these markets are more dominated by large competitors like diagnostic imaging. The diagnostic imaging segment, the top 4 competitors control about 70% of the market, whereas in vitro diagnostics, the top 4 competitors control maybe a little over 50% of the market. So there is some difference in market fragmentation. All of that comes across very well in the market map, and again sorted left to right, bottom to top, separating out other always appearing here. I've got an other bar which I made appear on the right, and the other series always appears on the top. And again, the use of color to make it a little more to bring out the point of the fragmentation. Last market map. I promise we'll then move on to other stuff. But I wanted to show you something to add that adds a little more complexity. If you're from the U.S., it probably makes sense as a market map, because all of us who drive have a sense of what the cars on the road are, unless you live in Manhattan, and then all you see is a lot of yellow taxis. So this is the U.S. auto industry, sales by model in 2014. Again, an industry with a lot of good data around, so I found this data on the web. And you can see here that this is also a very fragmented market, but a split among 3 main segments: cars, SUVs, and trucks. And here I used color to denote the both the manufacturer and to denote the country in which the manufacturer is from. So the green shaded manufacturers are Japanese, the brown shaded manufacturers are American, and then I've got Hyundai in blue and a little VW segment, my only European manufacturer to make the chart, in purple. So you can see that cars are dominated by Japanese manufacturers and relatively fragmented, where the top, looks like the top 10 or 15 still only make up 50% of the top 10 or 15 models still only make up about 15% of the market. The crossover SUV market is more mixed US and Japanese manufacturers and also relatively fragmented, whereas the pickup market is dominated by US firms, Ford, Chrysler, which I guess is still a US firm, and GM, with Toyota showing up just at the just trying to get in there with maybe a little under 10% of the market, and a very consolidated market as opposed the top 4 manufacturers, top 5 manufacturers make up almost 90% of the market. So pickups look very different than cars or crossover SUVs. So here you can see real differences in market segments in the auto industry across the cars, crossovers, and pickup trucks. And you can see I used the legend to highlight, and I had to customize the legend fairly extensively to highlight the manufacturers, and then again using the colors in the legend to differentiate among the individual manufacturers and the countries in which the manufacturers operated. So hopefully those 4 market maps gave you a sense of how you would use a Marimekko chart to map a market. And again, it's markets by segment, typically by competitor is probably the most common use of the Marimekko chart as a market map. So moving on, I wanted to show you that there are other aspects of a market that you might want to look at besides who the competitors are in the different regions or the different segments. Sometimes you just want to understand, are there regional differences in what in how the market is structured, how the market is organized. So I found this data set for plastic surgery, and it really brought home some significant regional differences in the kinds of plastic surgery procedures that are carried out in different parts of the world. So I used 100% stacked bar chart, which is a good chart to show percentage allocation to different market segments. And in this case, the market segments are the part of the body on which the plastic surgery is performed. And you can see that worldwide, it's somewhat evenly divided between face and head, breast, and rest of body, whereas in Japan and South Korea, over 3/4 of the procedures are on the face and head. So very different approach to plastic surgery in the 3rd and 4th largest markets, Japan and South Korea, than in the 1st and 2nd biggest markets, USA and Brazil, and very different than the worldwide totals. And to emphasize this, I added data rows to the bottom of the chart, and the data rows help illustrate by showing you the actual most common procedures in each of the countries, and worldwide. I use bold just to highlight worldwide. And then I sort of structured this chart almost like a table to be read from top to bottom and left to right, putting a data column with the name of the body, the part of the body on the left-hand side of the chart so you can more easily read it, almost like a table again, top to bottom, left to right. So the 100% stacked bar is a chart I rely on a lot, and it's a good chart to take a market and divide it up into segments. So here we're dividing the plastic surgery procedures up by region, by type, and it gives you it allows you to look across these regions. Even though the number of procedures varies across the region, you can still make a comparison using the 100% stacked bar chart. So one other chart that I also like is just a simple stacked bar chart with a CAGR column. And I like this chart to show growth. So this is the flip side or the complement to the first market map I showed you. We're looking at the US electric vehicle market. We're looking at growth in the market from year to year. And the growth picture works well with the market map, and you can see a couple of things. You can see that the market is growing significantly, 109% between 11 and 13. I added the growth line to show overall growth, and then I added a CAGR column, I added a CAGR column to show growth of each market segment. And the message in the CAGR column is that while conventional hybrids are growing at a good rate, 23%, plug-in hybrids and 100% electric vehicles are growing significantly faster at 86 and 68% respectively. So over time, the dominance of Toyota based on its conventional hybrid might fall to a company like Tesla, which is a larger player in the 100% electric market, as that chunk of the market is growing faster than the conventional hybrids. So use 100% stacked bar, use the CAGR column. I use the data row in this chart as well. I think the data row is a good way to add information about each of the, in this case, each of the years. So here I'm showing the percent of electric vehicles relative to total vehicles sold in the US, and you can see that that percent is increasing as well, from 2% in 2011 to almost 4% in 2013. So the 100% stacked bar chart with the growth line, with the CAGR column, is a good way to show market growth. I use it a lot as a complement to the Marimekko chart, because the Marimekko chart is just a static picture. You're looking at market map at one point in time. It's very hard to use a Marimekko or to compare two Marimekkos to show how that market map is changing, but combining the Marimekko with the stacked bar shows you both growth and market map, and you can have them. Sometimes they can fit on one slide, but often you would have the two slides, one for the growth and one for the actual current market. So 100% stacked bar, and now a stacked bar. Wanted to show you a couple of other charts. One other thing about markets that you often want to look at is profitability. And here I like the Marimekko chart. I think the Marimekko chart is an underused chart type. It's a good chart type if one of your variables is growth rate or margin, sort of a percent variable. And here you're looking at iPhones and Apple product line, and you can see the height of the bar is the gross margin of each Apple product line, and the width of the bar is the number of units sold. So you can very easily see that iPhones are not only the most profitable Apple product, but also the best selling in number of units. So that's really the profit engine of Apple. It's not often the case that your most profitable product is also your highest selling product, and you can see that it makes up more than half of the total units that Apple sells are iPhone units, and Macs, while a cool computer, are a very small percent of Apple sales, and its lowest margin. Oh, again, I clicked one time too many. Its lowest margin product. So, using a Marimekko chart, Marimekkos also work very well for market growth. You could then also compare iPhone's growth rate with its size and looking at that year-over-year growth against size. So I would look at the Marimekko, and if I'm looking at growth or I'm looking at margins, and add that to my market analysis. I think that's it's a great chart to add to your to market analysis, because it gives you both it shows you the size of your market segments or the size of your competitors, and also the margins that they have in the same chart. And I'm going to wrap up with a bubble chart. So I think a bubble, if you've got a couple of different dimensions that you're looking at and you want to categorize your market along those dimensions might be margin. In this case, my dimensions are price and growth rate. So here I've got the US beer market split up into market segments. Each bubble represents a market segment. Its position on the x-axis is its growth rate. Its position on the y-axis is its average price. And the size of the bubble represents the market share of that segment in the market category. So it's a complicated chart because it's looking at a bunch of different things, but it's also a very powerful chart because you can put really 3 dimensions in a single chart and make it reasonably readable and understandable. And in previous charts, we've had at most one or two, at most 2 dimensions in the chart. Typically, in a bubble chart, I will add these quadrant lines, because typically you want to split your bubble chart into quadrants and analyze them by quadrant. So here you can see that my high growth, high price segments are craft beers, Mexican imports, and ciders, which are even off the chart in year-to-year growth, although relatively small, and that down in my low growth, low price segment are premium and below premium beers. And those even also happen to be the 2 largest segments of the market. So you've got a market in which your 2 largest segments are low price, low growth, and all of the margins and all of the growth are in the smaller segments. And not surprisingly, you're going to see beer companies trying to move from these low price, low growth segments into some of these higher price, higher growth segments. So you're starting to see some of the beer companies and some other companies buying up small craft brewers to try to get a piece of this action. So the bubble chart is a really good chart if you've got multiple dimensions, especially if one dimension is growth, another dimension is price or margin, and you also have market size information for the different market segments. Sometimes you can see these bubbles are not market segments, but they're actually competitors in the market. So this introduction hopefully gave you a sense of how you might use Mecca graphics charts as part of a market analysis. I wanted to start you with market maps, again, because they're a very powerful use of our software, a very common chart for us. And then I wanted to walk you through other types of charts that you can use in a market analysis to show things like market growth, market profitability, and to using these bubble charts to put multiple dimensions on a single chart. So just as a wrap up, I will stick around for a few minutes. There is the chat feature on the GoToMeeting. If you have a question for me, I am happy to answer it. I wanted to let you know, as I said at the start, we recorded this webinar. It will be it will be up within the next day or two. I am going to put this slide deck up, and I will you'll be able to download that in the next day or two. All of the charts that we used are in the Mecca Graphics chart gallery, which is on our website, or in the Chart of the Week blog, which is on our website. I would encourage you to subscribe to the blog. It's kind of cool to get a new chart every week. You can also email questions to support@meccographics.com, or you can either call me or email me with questions. So I'm going to take a look. I got a little nod that that we've got some questions in the chat, which I need to be able to see. Give me 1 minute because I'm having a small technical difficulty getting to see the chat questions. Don't go away. Hold on 1 second while I get some help. Can't get to the chat questions. Questions. Thank you. Pull them out. Where are they? Click. Okay. There are a lot of questions. Now I just need to find them. Can you show the number of competitors that make up the others? So I'm just going to try to go through the questions one at a time and answer them. I apologize for the slight delay. You can show the number of competitors. I think probably the easiest way to show the number of competitors that make up the other segment would be to go in and actually edit the label in the other segment. In Mecca Graphics, you can click on a chart and then you can click on a label and you can then edit. You can directly edit the label. So you can type in whatever you want here. So you might, if you want to know, then if you want to type in the number of competitors, you can put them right in here. That's probably the easiest way to do that. Can you show examples of Excel spreadsheet used on the first automobile example? Sure. So let me go back to, here's the first auto example. If I double click on my chart and then I click on the data, you can see the data is relatively easy to understand. So I have a column for each bar. So conventional hybrids, plug-in hybrids, electric. And my rows are the manufacturers. So here's Ford and GM. Daimler is listed here, but I grouped Daimler as part of the other series, which I can show you how to do as well. Porsche here is also part of the other series. So it's just very straightforward. It's just went to the web, scraped the information on each manufacturer's number of units sold in each market. And then in Mecca Graphics, in the bars and series dialog, under series options, you can create an other series, and then in this little box here, you can add different segments to the other series. So you can see in 100% electric, there's a lot of very small manufacturers, Daimler, Ford, GM, Honda, Mitsubishi. I included them all in other. So that's how we got the data to look like it does. Let me see. Can you show how to change the percent of the bar to the percent of the whole chart? Yes, I can show that. So I can even show that in this chart. So if I wanted, okay, so let me make this, let me do one thing at a time. If I go back here and I go to Format Chart and I say Show Percent, now I have the percent of each bar. The bars don't look great. I'll fix them up later if you want. But this 73% is 73% of the electric vehicle market of the conventional hybrids that Toyota owns. If I wanted to show this percent as the percent rather than the percent of 45,458, which is the conventional hybrids, I wanted to show it as the percent of 550, 554, which is the total market, then what I would do, it's a little complicated, but not too bad. I would add a total row to the chart, and I would make this row the sum of all the elements in the chart, which should be the same 5504, and then I would make this absolute references. I could also have just typed in 55, oops, I screwed up, sorry. And then I want to click on this row and I want to show the series, set this series as my 100% row. So again here, under Show Series, I can say set the series as my 100% row. And then copy this data across the three bars. So what this does is it says that instead of using the bar total, use whatever in this row as the denominator for my percent calculations. So I just made this row the total, and now you can see in each bar, this is the percent not of the bar total, but of the grand total. So you can also set something as the 100% row in Format Chart. You can select a row right here as well as the 100% row. I hope that was helpful. Could you contrast use of Mecca versus stacked bar, when to use both? So I would use a Mecca chart when I wanted to emphasize the difference in bar size. So here I wanted to emphasize that conventional hybrids were a much bigger segment. If I used a straight stacked bar, you could show the mix of the manufacturers, but you wouldn't show it wouldn't show you that conventional hybrids was that much bigger than plug-in hybrids or 100% electric vehicles. So typically in a market map, I would use a Marimekko chart. If I was looking at a mix and comparing a mix of products or competitors across different regions, then I might use 100% stacked bar, as I did over here. So here I was much more emphasizing the mix and how the mix changed. In the Marimekko chart, it's both the mix and the size of each bar that are highlighted. So you get sort of 2 for 1. But when you've got both, you're underemphasizing a little the mix, and the 100% stacked bar really gives you the mix. So I hope that is helpful as an explanation. Do we have something for a break in the line charts? Yes. So you do have the ability to add a break to a chart. What categories are so I can show you that in this bar chart. Mecca Graphics does have an axis break. So if I wanted to put that, I can just right-click on the axis and say Insert Axis Break. I can also right-click in a bar and say Insert Axis Break. And here you can see that the break comes right in here, and I can drag it and make it bigger. So these are helpful if you want to emphasize the smaller segments and shrink the larger ones. You can do this in a line chart or a bar chart. You wouldn't. You could do it in a Marimekko chart, but you typically would not. Oh, someone asked me, how did I get cider to show at 16% when it really is 64%? That's a really good question. So in the bubble charts, you have a feature called Outliers. You can see that in the Format Series dialog. And here you can see I made cider an outlier series. If I didn't, then it would, well, let me try to, I don't know. Let's see what happens when I do this. Oh, so basically because I have a fixed end to this axis, it just puts it off the chart. But if I didn't have a fixed end to the axis, if I used a computed x-axis, you could see the chart looks kind of yucky. So you really do need to change this to a manual axis and then make cider an outlier so that the axis lines up correctly. So that's a nice little feature of a bubble chart, the ability to make a bubble, an outlier bubble. How do I set a series as other? I think I showed that, but I'm happy to do that again. The easiest way to do that is in bars and series, options, and then right here you can select an option as other, or you can create a new series if you don't have it in your data and make that series other. You can then add to the other series from this little box here, or if you want to add all segments below a certain value to other, you can put that value in here and click update. So there's a bunch of ways to add to other. How do you sort the bars? That's another great question. So in the Format Chart dialog, you've got sort series and sort bars. No sort, biggest on bottom, biggest on top. and sort bars biggest on right, biggest on left. So you just do that right here in Format Chart. Format Chart's a great dialog box to look at for figuring out what you want to show on your chart, how you want to show your labels, and how you want to sort your series. And if you, someone asked how to make the other series always on the top and always on the right. Always on the top is the default for an other series. If you want to make your other bar always appear on the right, then you have to basically put it on the right in your spreadsheet. We don't have a designation for other bar. In the next version of Mecca Graphics, which will come out next year, we will add custom sorts, which will make this a little easier, and we will add the ability to exclude a bar from the sort, which will allow you to sort all your bars and keep another bar always on the right. So that is a feature that people wanted, and that's a feature that we will add. Great. So I think I've great. I think I've answered most of or all of the questions, and like I said, I've left you my contact information, and feel free to call or email and look at some of our other resources if you have other questions. Great. Well, thank you all so much for attending the webinar, and I look forward to the next one that we will do. Have a great day.